lying through your teeth for how I once tried to stick ya. You told your shorty wop that I had the ooh, and that I took at least a deuce and change from you.
Shit, don't nothing move but the money. But honey must have had the crush on you that got crushed by her buster man. So son, here's the plan. Load up the arms, roll up on that nigga cause I bet he's charmed. Yo, what be the deal with these imitators? I hate a faker. So what's the deal? Yo, we gon' take it to them like this. Show them how we do them.
At the top of the year of 1995, a duo from Bucktown, Brooklyn, New York, named Smif N Wessun, released their debut classic album, The Shinin. Not only were the rhymes superior, this is one of the best produced albums of all time. This is the making of The Shinin. New York is the mecca of hip-hop, so just being around and growing up in that environment, you're bound to want to get into hip-hop in some form or fashion. Some people DJ, some people breakdance, some did graffiti. Tek and Steele would make their entrance in hip-hop through rhyming. Tek and Steele actually went to high school together. They used to rhyme in the cafeteria, banging on the lunchroom table, freestyling, and they were always with each other. They always hung out, so you can kind of see the early synergy that they developed early on. And to them, hip-hop was just a way of life, the way people talk, how they hung out, the way they dress. They knew one day they were going to make it happen.
Tek is the first three letters of my real name, Tikoman. So this is what you get. This is straight up with a Steele. That was his name, from Steel Punch, as we was coming up. So it wasn't hard for us to pick an acronym for what our names was or try to find a rap name. I mean, we all went through the graffiti stages of T-Ski and all other types of things, and just Tek is the first three letters.
Tek and Steele worked with a dancer who turned out to be the sister of Black Moon frontman Buckshot. The two groups ended up meeting, they clicked right away, and music was soon started to be recorded right after. Now, Buckshot, as you know, is the leader of the Boot Camp Clique. Initially, Buckshot had a group called Black Moon, which featured 5FT and then DJ Evil D, which is half of the Beatminerz. Around this time, they were starting to record their debut album, Into the Stage. This was perfect timing for Smif N Wessun because they were ready to show the world their talent. Smif N Wessun would end up on two of the dopest tracks on Into the Stage. They would appear on the song called Black Smif N Wessun and the song called You the Man.
How that whole thing works, man?
It starts out like the pawns on a game. You can either start it out with one move or you could take two moves first. You know, boot camp just so happened that BDI was the first pawn to set it off and Smif N Wessun was the second, so we came with 2 steps in advance. Now bringing Helter Skelter and OGC, we just letting our knights and our bishop loose to conquer.
A lot of hard work, discipline, patience, obedience, and self-control, man. It's definitely not easy, and the struggle continues. And you know, how do y'all describe the sound that y'all bring, man? Because y'all have definitely a unique sound, man, and what y'all bring now.
The sound is for the people, then.
The Shinin', which would be the debut album of Smif N Wessun, was a critical album because coming after Into the Stage by Black Moon, they were second next up into bat for the legendary Boot Camp Clique. After that, you got 2 classic albums, Helter Skelter Nocturnal in 96 and OGC The Storm in 96. This was a 4-peat. This was back-to-back classic albums. This really set the stage and really put the Boot Camp Clique as one of the dopest groups of all time.
BDI MC. BDI MC, we call him the BDI MC because he is the one that's always in the background or always like hovering over us with a spliff and just overseeing the whole project. He never really tried to like interfere. He knew as individuals we had to shine on our own. So he let us do our thing. He always gave us insight, but he let us make our own decisions. So he that's why some individuals might say we sound like Black Moon, but we coming from out of the same light. So So we're just another level, an upstep, another level of what you entered in the beginning, what you entered the stages. I'm saying.
With the success of Black Moon's Into the Stage, Smif N Wessun was next up. They started recording music in '93 and launched their lead single in May of 1994 titled Bucktown. The difference between Bucktown and a lot of other music was the sampling. Even though they were speaking about street issues and street politics, it didn't sound like Onyx, it didn't sound like Wu-Tang, it didn't sound like anything that was out. The choice of sampling mixed with the street rhetoric was a perfect new way of introducing a brand new crew repping Brooklyn.
You guys dropped Bucktown. Where'd you guys get the concept of that name? I mean, that's got a lot of strength behind that name.
Bucktown was something we just got black one night, chilling with Helter Skelter and OGC. Back home in Bucktown, we was chilling, just smoking one night. And we was like, yo, Don, we've been waiting too long. We really gotta come out with something that's really gonna let the heads know what time it is with Smif N Wessun. So we just got together and wrote Bucktown, dropped it out for all the hungry hip-hop heads. We doing it like that.
Won't see the streets, heads know what's the word, cause the grill is...
1994, One Time was the second single that was dropped. The album was finally getting finished. This was a definite dope second follow-up single. This beat had more pace. It had a little bit more up-tempo style. It had a dope hook. And this really showcased how they can rhyme in different pockets. They can rhyme on different type of beats. This would definitely get fans ready for the new album that will be dropping soon. See, when you hear that sample, that just shows you how stellar these beats were. A lot of these beats transform you to a whole new zone. This album has some of the best production in hip-hop history. This album was produced by the Beatminerz, which consists of Mr. Walt and DJ Evil D.
We had a chip on our shoulder as far as for the sound. I wanted everybody to know, like, okay, boom, Black Moon's album sounded this way, but this album's not going to sound like this. This album's going to be a brighter, clearer sounding record.
Yeah,
that's part of the reason why I think also it was more well received than the Black Moon record was. Like Black Moon, it was one sound, but Smif N Wessun was a
subpar. I'm saying it's great.
No, it wasn't subpar, but we were just babies. You know what I'm saying? We were just babies. Like this, and the Shinin was us trying to show you that we grow. So, Baby Paul did Home Sweet Home. He did Recognize, and he did Wipe Your Mouth. So everything else was being evil, but Home Sweet Home kind of followed.
Sampling can definitely be considered a pillar and one of the elements of hip hop. Digging through the crates, finding that one little piece of music to then recycle and then create your own spin to it takes a lot of dedication, takes a lot of time and effort, and it really just brings out the genius quality in producers, because every MC, every hip-hop group is always one sample away from making a life-changing event. Samples are important as the lyrics to any album.
I flow fluidly. Sitting on the dealer shit and puff. My soul. Hallucination situation got me thinking about my life serious.
So Recognize would be the third single release. This would actually come out after the album dropped in 1995. Recognize was a really smooth track. It's definitely a fan favorite, and this just really showed how dope Tek and Steele is as a group. The final single, which is the single of all singles, one of the best produced hip hop songs of all time, Soundboy Burial, would definitely just showcase that not only was Smif N Wessun a force, this was showing the up and coming boot camp clique. This was really a rise to dominance, and this really would set off the boot camp clique era right after Into the Stage did. The album would be an instant classic, and a lot of fans really took to not only the rhymes but the production on the album. And it had so many tracks. This is one of those rare albums where there's really no skips, because a lot of albums end up with filler, especially as you get to song number 14, 15, 16, 17. But if you really sit, this is one of the albums where you can press play, let it rock, and you'll always have a great time.